everyone. Okay, if this works, then we can get going. So, yeah, good evening and welcome to another of my live streams. I guess today's topic is going to be a continuation of last week's topics, which was IRC bot. Yeah, we're writing an IRC bot. So let's see how that goes. Let me quickly check if I can hear myself on YouTube. Yes, I can. Okay, perfect. So, yeah, again, officially, welcome everyone, and hello to my live streams. Today's moderator is going to be maryush. You can see Maryush's nickname here. It's we're on IRC, it actually has a tick at the end, and on YouTube it's just maryush. So yeah, if you have any questions at any time, then just message maryush about them. You know, on YouTube you have to use the @ and then maryush, or on IRC. On IRC you can actually just write !Q and then whatever question you have, or comments, and then maryush will actually redirect them to me using telepathic connection. Yes, that's actually what we are using. Now, yeah, last week we started to make the skeleton of an IRC bot. Today, and we actually established an SSL connection to the server, and today I will continue implementing the IRC protocol. There was a really good question from Dohan about why am I not using an IRC library for Python? Why am I implementing the protocol? There are actually a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is because I wanted to show you what IRC is about. It's a really simple text protocol, so there is you don't have to know much to learn it. So that's one good thing. The other is I'm also a little bit lazy in that I actually know already the IRC protocol. I've implemented bots in the past. I've done actually quite a lot around IRC, so I do not have to learn that. That being said, if I were to use a library, I would have to learn about how to use the library. I would have to learn what bugs were in the library and what workarounds should I use. And also, if the library would not support some feature which I need to support, then I would need to again learn the internals of the library and then figure out how to add something to that library. So that's usually the way you should do that. Actually, you should choose a library if your goal is just to create, for example, an IRC bot, because that saves you time, right? But well, you know, my live streams are usually quite low level, so I prefer to implement something again like the IRC protocol just to show you folks how it basically works, because yeah, this is what the live streams here are about. Okay, so did I change the camera? The quality used to be better. That's weird. I actually no, the quality looks good. No, it doesn't look good. You're right. It's quite weird. Let me quickly check in the camera settings, but I didn't change the camera. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to attempt to click here, and this is probably going to fail badly. Did fail badly. If it didn't fail badly, then perhaps you can see me in a higher resolution. If it failed badly, then you cannot see me at all, you cannot hear me at all, and I'm going to get a blue screen in a second. But looking at, yeah. Oh, actually, it might not even be the camera resolution problem, it might just be my connection problem. Well, let me know if it improved anything. Cool. So, yeah, let's get to some usual things, I guess. Wow, okay, this totally doesn't work. Let me quickly fix the camera over here. Click. Okay, how do I... Oh, this is going to be weird. Here we go. Okay, it should be fine. Give or take, should be fine. Yeah. Now it should be fine. Perfect. Yeah, it might be still 1 pixel off, but I don't think it's worth actually going after 1 pixel. I might actually tweak it later. Anyway, so usually at this moment I show the website of my moderator, but maryush actually said he doesn't have one already. So okay, due to that, I guess I'm going to just talk about the Winter Challenge. Well, the Winter Game Dev Challenge actually is already finished, as in the deadline, submission deadline is over, and I just wanted to let you know, folks, that both me and Live Overflow are reviewing the submissions which were, well, sent to us due to, well, in the deadline. There were 25 games which were submitted, so we have quite a lot of games to play. Some games are, we basically try to play every game to its full extent, meaning if the game actually has an end, we try to reach that end. In some games they're quite fast, in other games we spent around an hour or even 2 hours to basically play that game. So we're about halfway done in individual testing, so we need to still test some more games, and I guess you should expect results in around a week, give or take, unless something goes wrong. So let's see how that goes. Apart from that, I don't believe I have any more announcements. One thing is that on this like scrolling text bar, which is like somewhere here, no, where is it? Wait, I have the camera actually here. Yeah, somewhere there. Yeah, like there is, oh, here is the scrolling text. I added some links to other YouTubers and other folks who are doing live streams, so you might actually want to check them out. Cool. Let me see if there are any questions. If there are any questions, then I will get quickly through them. Otherwise, we can get started with today's topic, which again is continuing to write the IRC bot. Now, I actually have one question to you folks. I'm kind of playing with the idea of making a couple of live streams about some vulnerabilities which were discovered by random folks, but in recent times. And there's, well, for some reason the vulnerabilities are interesting. I did a live stream like that about Spectre and Meltdown when they came out, but I'm thinking about doing more live streams about, oh, and also about eFail. And I'm thinking about making more live streams about, just like I take one vulnerability which was recently announced and I explain it, how it works, why is it dangerous, what's so interesting about it, and so on. So let me know if you are interested in something like that. Feel free to just like write it on YouTube chat. I will take a look in next second. Okay, let's see the questions. The questions should appear here. There's one from Andrew. For less hacky testing, if you're interested, I recommend the PyTest library. It automatically discovers tests in files and tests files and executes test functions launched via PyTest command. Failed asserts and thrown exceptions result in failed tests. That's actually, wait, why does your, oh wait, because to see your question I need to click this button. My apologies, Andrew. Here you go. Yeah, it's actually a really good hint. We might want to take a look at that because I was trying to write some unit tests. Let me quickly check if I actually have PyTest or if I need to install it. If we need to PyTest, I do not have it, but we can do this. Install Python PyTest. This is the moment where I mute my microphone because I'm entering my password. Okay. And if you're new to my stream and you're wondering why am I muting my microphone, there is some research actually telling, well, actually a couple of different researches which prove that based on a recording of somebody's keyboard, if you have the keyboard mapped, you can, well, derive whatever was typed. Yeah, that's basically it. There are two ways to do it. One way is each key actually has a unique and distinct sound. I'm not sure if that unique and distinct sound actually survives YouTube compression and like whatever OBS is doing with the compression and the microphone, if it's good enough. But yeah, that's one thing, and the other thing is actually timing. Like, you know, the finger has to move physically from one key to another and to another and to another, even if I'm doing it with, I'm writing with a lot of fingers actually. That still means there is a timing difference between when the key is actually hit. So based on that, you can also derive what was being written. It has been done in laboratories. I'm not really sure if that can be done in real life, but yeah, What's that? Okay, so I've installed PyTest, and I can actually run PyTest. We can try to use PyTest. So thanks Andrew for that tip. We can actually try to use that. Okay, Dashin writes, what books are you reading at the moment? At the moment I'm reading, let me think, I'm reading Honor Harrington series. That's actually sci-fi. I got recommended it on Twitter, and I started reading the first book yesterday, and it looks pretty interesting. Then I'm reading Radical Candor. It's actually a book for managers. I'm a manager, if you don't know. And okay, the volume is low. Folks, is volume low for everyone? If it is low for everyone, then I can actually make it a little bit louder, so do let me know. And apart from that, I'm also looking at some technical books, but they are kind of related to my research right now, so I don't want to disclose it yet. I'm reading quite a lot of papers on electronics as well, like from Texas Instrument actually publishes a lot of stuff for electronics. Okay, so everyone says that the volume is okay, so I'm going to leave it like this for now. Yeah. Yeah, so that's it around books. Oh, one thing I wanted to show you folks. This arrived today. I'm not sure you can actually see this. Yeah, it's Intel Neural Compute Stick. It's actually a USB 3. It's not a pen drive. It's supposed to be a neural network accelerator, which works with some frameworks. And I saw it on Hackaday, and if you don't read Hackaday, that's a great aggregator of like hacking meaning low-level, deep, specialized knowledge, not really security. So basically electronics. Yeah, do subscribe to hackaday.com. They are actually amazing and have amazing content there. So I spotted this and I decided, like, yeah, it's somewhat not expensive, so I'm just going to get it and try to play with it a little. I was supposed to start relearning AI again. Since last time I did it, it was like 15 years ago, like neural networks and stuff went, like, you know, AI basically is hot again, so there has been a lot of progress. So I got this and I'm trying to play with this. I tried to set it up today, but it turns out my Ubuntu is too modern for it, and I need to check on a different computer which has an old Ubuntu to actually play with it. But I like the idea of having like an accelerator chip on the USB 3. USB 3 is pretty fast. I don't think that this actually requires a lot of bandwidth. I'm not sure what it does yet. Exactly what kind of calculations does it do, but it's a really cool idea. And like, yeah, you plug in a couple of these to your PC, and your PC is supposed to be faster at computing neural networks, which is quite cool. I'm not sure how it compares to a graphic card as well, but yeah. Am I talking about the system down vulnerability? So actually, it was more about like a general idea. Then I didn't have any vulnerability in mind. Given that the response on YouTube chat has been, nobody said it's a stupid idea, so yeah, I'm probably just going to do that. So though, actually, thank you for pointing me to that vulnerability. It might be something I can look at next time. There's also, like, for example, some OpenSSH vulnerabilities on the client side, which is also quite interesting. So yeah, I guess there are quite a lot of topics we could go there into, and I kind of like these ideas for topics because they do not take a lot of time to prepare a stream, and the streams are actually quite fun usually and quite interesting. So yeah, I might do that. We also have well, Foxtrot is basically leading the preparing some vulnerable VMs, which I could try to show you how to pen test. I never played with VMs, like vulnerable VMs. I did play with pen tests, so I should be able to somehow manage. Yeah, so that's also coming up. Another thing which is coming up is my magazine, which I mentioned, which is going to be called Paged Out, and is going to be a magazine where each article is going to have exactly one page. and it's going to be deeply technical about hacking, security, electronics, retro stuff, and so on. And there will be a call for articles really soon. We basically are testing the process right now with some like closed beta offers, and this is starting to look really cool. Okay, idea for a stream exploiting Linux 0.01 kernel or any pre-1.0 version. I do remember that kind of tasks on some... Oh, I need to click again. Sorry, SG. That's a good idea for a stream. I'm going to note it as well. Maybe I should not close the ideas document. I actually have a ideas document. All the ideas which you ever mention on a stream are added to that document. So yeah, we have it. Okay, what does it work? Okay. Yeah, but it might be quite cool to actually look at Linux before 1.0. That was like an operating... Linux wasn't even an operating system when it started, based on the book about like Linux, the one which the autobiography by Linus Torvalds. Basically, it was supposed to be like a terminal emulator which can connect to stuff, and yeah, and then it ended up being an operating system, which is quite funny. Okay, Walter says, Poland recently announced the formation of its cyber army. What is your take on that? Well, it's 2019, finally. Yeah, it actually caused quite a commotion on the security scene. There are quite a lot of articles about it, and folks are talking. Yeah, it's basically being positively received so far. I don't have an opinion on that because I didn't dig into the topic. I don't even live in Poland anymore, so I'm kind of detached. I'm following it due to curiosity, but that's about it. I do not have an opinion on that. What about creating a community forum about around your viewers and live overflows? It is an excellent question. The plan is yes. I want to do something like that. Perhaps create also a Discord channel at some point on top of our IRC channel, because a lot of folks are using Discord nowadays, or that's what I've heard at least. And also doing some website where folks can chat with each other. But the problem here is time. Actually, I do not have a lot of time to use for my activities, and that's why the website is not yet up. And we actually planned to have it ready last year, at the beginning of last year. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, there is like John Hammond has his own Discord. Pretty cool, actually. I'm also on his Discord, and yeah, there are actually quite a lot of amazing Discord communities out there. Also, like Hack in the Box community has one. Then there are some game related and game modding related. So cool stuff. Okay, let's continue. What is the state which we are again? This is the main file. As you can see, it's almost complete. Yeah, but that wasn't true, obviously. This is the IRC file. What we did last time is we basically connected using SSL. I hope we connected using SSL. We can try to run this. Basically, if we run it, just like this is supposed to be a module file, right? But if we just run it, then it is supposed to connect to IRC and test itself. So let's do just that. If I remember correctly, I was writing in Python 3.7, which basically means that I need to do it on Windows. Oh, if I'm doing it on Windows, I don't have PyTest. Oops. Oh, whatever. Okay, so I need to switch. I need to switch to Python 3.7 64-bit. Yeah. And let's try to run it. If I run it, yeah, it connects, it establishes the SSL connection, and that's it. Let me double check if I don't have PyTest here as well. No, I don't. I need to install it. Okay. Again, if you have any questions, ping this guy on YouTube, because Maryush is actually copy pasting the questions to another panel which I have on one of my monitors, which I look at from time to time. I do not look from all the time at the YouTube chats. I look from time to time, but I don't look all the time, so I might miss some questions. And this way, if you ping Maryush, I'm not going to miss the question, because Maryush is just going to feed it to me. Perfect. Okay, so we are connecting. Now, after connection, what we need to do is we need to register. I kind of showed it last time using Netcat, right? But I do have RFC 1459, which is, RFCs are again like protocol specifications. Actually, that stands for request for comment. And is like, if you have a new protocol, or back in the day, if you had a new protocol, you basically sent out a request for comment and it got its own number. But in the end, these requests for comments actually became official standards for the protocols. And also when we are, also there's one for IRC. So what we are interested now is we basically need to do the connection registration. And the connection registration goes around these two messages. We do not care about other messages for now. We need to select a nickname and then select the and send it to the server. This is the desired nickname which we want to take. And there's also a user message where the user is basically the thing. Well, actually, I probably should open an IRC chat at this point just to show you, but I do not believe I have a client for IRC. It doesn't matter. The user is basically what is in the description of the user, like the profile of the user. If you do the whois command on a user on IRC, this is what you get. And also before the host, there is there's a username basically, and this is what this is like, where it's taken from. So if we jump here, yeah, we sent a nick like this. This is the nick which we want. And then this is the user command. We sent again the username. The host name I think is ignored anyway. The server name doesn't matter, and because this is just like the server name. And the real name is, I think these two are ignored. We can try it, but I'm pretty sure they are ignored. And the real name is can be whatever we want it to be. Now there's a funny thing in, if we use the real name with, it's prefixed with a colon, that means we can use space in it, like colon ASDF space ASDF, that works as a string. Basically colon tells the server that from now on the parameter which you are assigning can have white spaces and it's terminated by the end of a line. Yeah, so okay, we need to send this basically. So after we are connected, and I'm actually wondering how to do that, because what I want to do is I want to basically import threads and start to use threading as well. I'm going to use my usual model, which I go to for networking in Python, which is I have like a main thread which does basically nothing, and what it does, it spawns a new thread where the new thread is responsible, for example, for IRC in our case. And this thread responsible for IRC is probably going to do nothing, but there will be two more threads. One thread is going to be a sender thread for sending stuff, and another one is going to be a receiver thread for receiving stuff. And both of these threads are going to basically have some queue of packets which are going to be sent and queue of packets which are received. And this main thread is going to be fed the packets which are incoming and is going to decide what to do them, handle them, and put it in the queue, in the synchronized queue to be sent out. So yeah, there will be a couple of threads. That's okay. Again, I'm going for blocking IO threads, which means the threads are mostly sleeping and not doing anything else. And as discussed last time, we could go for fibers, but we do not need to do anything. This is not going to do any processing, like any hardcore math. It's going just to do simple handling of events. Cool. So, okay, when we connect, after connecting, if we actually are successful with connecting, we probably need to spawn the threads. And I guess I'm going to create a new method. The new method is going to be just called start. Oh, I actually don't need to do it because after initializing, I'm already doing it. Yeah, I'm wondering if just acquisition of this should be enough. I want to actually do it here. So first of all, we connect, and if we fail at connecting for some reason, then we need to raise an exception. Raise, and let's make an exception class IRC exception, and it's going to be inherit over exception. Is this the way you write exception? I'm pretty sure I'm failing at that. Python exception. Yeah, that's good. Exception. Perfect. And it's actually not going to do anything. It's just going to be. I just care about the name here. And this is fine because when I do something like this, yes, exactly. Thank you. For some reason, sometimes console is failing and pasting only like the last characters, which is exactly what I didn't want to happen here. Exception. Okay, pass. And yeah, now I can do raise exception, IRC, sorry, exception, and whatever. And yeah, this actually works, and my name is here, so I can catch this exception based on the class name. So yeah, in this case, I'm going to just raise the exception and say that connection failed. Yeah. And I'm actually trusting whatever happened like before to say why did it fail. I guess here I need to return true in that case, and here return true as well. Now what you do not see here is return fail, because actually I'm not checking anything at this point. If in an unlikely, okay, very likely event that this fails, it will throw an exception of its own, and I hope that this is handled somewhere. It's probably not, and I'm probably going to add some try-catch block here later on, but yeah, maybe I should do that, but not now. As soon as I start getting exception, I'm going to add a try-catch block here. So if it's connected, then start handling. I need to call this method, and the start handling method will actually, what it will actually do, it will create a new thread, a set of threads actually, and implement the model which I did describe to you before. So let's go to this. Oh, I do not care about pep, if you're wondering. I like pep, but I do not care too much about it. Pep being the pep 8, the Python coding standard. Like style guide, right? I care more about Google's Python style guide, in all honesty. Okay. So if this should be obviously not. Thank you to Savel for noticing. Then yeah, I guess we should start the threads. We also need to create the queue. There was a naming change between Python 2 and Python 3. The synchronized queue, I think it was like lowercase in Python 3. Yeah, it's lowercase, and I think the module was lowercase, and also the class name. No, the class name is uppercase. Yeah, it's uppercase, and I think it was lowercase in Python 2. Or there was some mix-up here, which makes some sense, but it's weird. Anyway, you probably know that Q isn't the correct way to read it. The correct way is queue. It says queue, so the correct way is queue. So we're going to create a synchronized queue. And yes, I am making fun of the English language. My apologies. Okay, oh, there's a fun question from One Piece. What is your strategy to learn programming language? Do you read a lot of books? No. My strategy at this point and in the last 20 years is to get get some examples and start writing code. What I usually write is I usually write a ray tracer in that language, and I learn as I go. And I do not read books about how to learn programming languages. I never did, I believe. I looked at some books, okay, I looked at the C++ book, but I didn't read it like, you know, from start to finish and then writing, no. Even if I get some book, I usually just type the example code and then try to play with it, modify it, and write some of my code. I'm not sure about learning programming from a book. You can, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just remember, if you like reading books about programming, still 70 or 80% of your learning must be writing code. Reading is not enough. You totally need to write the code. That's the most important thing here. Okay, so queue. Yeah, I wanted to create two queues, two queues. It's going to be the send queue, send queue, which is queue.queue. Do I need to pass anything else here? I'm going to, you know, use my standard style of programming, which is a lot of googling of what exactly do I need to pass and how does it work. Yeah, as I did mention and as I just showcase, it's going to be a capital Q. Max size, I do not care about the max size. Then there is a LIFO queue, last in, first out. A normal queue is a FIFO queue, which means it's first in, first out. So whatever you put in the queue, then on the receiver's end, because the queue is basically just a container where you put some stuff and the other side, the other thread, is reading from that queue. So FIFO is like first in, first out, meaning the first thing you send, the first thing you put in the queue is going to be the first thing which is taken out of the queue. That's not the case for LIFO. LIFO is last in, first out, meaning that if you put two things, then the thing you put the last in is going to be the first thing taken out, and so on and so forth. Priority queue, which can basically sort the queue by priority. I do not believe we need any of these things. Just a normal standard queue is enough for us. And queue is a great thing because it's synchronized, meaning it already has all the mutexes and all the thread synchronization it needs. Otherwise, if we would just want to do it manually, we would have to take a list, a normal Python list, you know, with pop and append, or insert actually in this case, and then do a mutex, a lock around it, and that would be basically the same thing. Okay, do I use any Vim plugins? I tried some when I was still using Vim. I'm not really using Vim a lot nowadays, but no, I guess I almost always went with vanilla IRC, vanilla Vim, sorry. Cool, so now I have queues. Now I need to create the two threads, which are going to be the receiver thread and the and the sender thread, as mentioned. Sorry. So what I need to do is I need some like run sender, or like sender thread run, yeah. And yeah, this is going to be an infinite loop, which I'm going to add. Actually, one more thing which I need to add here is I need a way to finish everything up. And I guess to finish everything up, I need an event, something which will tell the other threads that, hey, it's probably time to finish. And I don't remember if actually like threading, do we have event in Python? Yeah, we have event objects. So event is basically a synchronized object, which you can set it, or you can clear it, or you can check if it's set, and you can wait on it, which we could use a Boolean value in all honesty, but yeah, a thread event is synchronized, so I guess I'm just going to use a thread event here. So am I employed? No, threading. Sorry, that was my bad. Now, I'm going to call it the end. This is the usual way I name it. It's probably not the best way to name it, but threading.event. Okay. And by default it's unset, so as soon as this is set, then we need to leave this. I also need to import time, because... oh, that's still not what I wanted. How do you... Russ... oh wait, alt backspace, control backspace? No, there's a way in Sublime to jump into the last location, and I was always using it and now I forgot it. Okay, so while not self the end set, while it's not set, sleep, yeah. This is a typical loop like this. So as soon as it actually, you know, starts to, as soon as some other thread signals it that it needs to end, then it will just end. And I'm actually going to have a similar loop here. So I'll have 3 threads which are which need to sleep. I wanted, as I did mention, I wanted to make the start handling thread as well in a separate thread. It was supposed to be a separate thread, so let's do just that. So self handling thread or handling th is going to be threading thread target equals self start handling, which is basically handling thread run. Yeah. I need to change the name. Okay, yep, run. And because I don't want this, I don't want creating, like the act of creation of this object to be blocking. I wanted to start the threads, like connect, start the threads, and then just, yeah, just go. But if the connection fails, then, yeah, I'm not sure. This I might actually move the connect part also to this part, like to the self-handling thread run, because if I get disconnected, I don't want to have to recreate the whole object. What I want to do is I want to reconnect. So yeah, this part is going to go to the handling thread as well, and I'm probably not going to, yeah, I'm not going to throw an exception there. Alt minus, yeah, it's alt minus. Thank you, ABC. Okay, then, yeah, I've created the thread, but I'm not running the thread. I have to do handling daemon. Do I need to do false or do I need to do true? I always forget that. Okay, through blah blah blah. Main thread is not a daemon thread, and therefore all the threads are not a daemon thread. Yeah, I need a daemon thread basically. The entire program exits when no alive non-daemon threads are left. I want to, it's like this. If I have a thread running and the main thread exits, I want the program to end. I want all the threads to be, well, terminated, and that's it. So what I need to do, and this is not the default in Python, so what I need to do is I need to set it to true, I guess. Yeah, I need to set it to true. This basically means that the exiting of the Python script will not be blocked on this thread. Not exiting. And now I need to start it. Will you not use async? No, I will not use async. I prefer to do it this way. I'm also not too familiar with async still. It is a good question there, Besserweiser. But as I mentioned, this is fine actually. Okay. So I'm having this and it's starting to run, but I need also the sender and receiver threads to run. Okay, but there's a problem with sender and receiver threads. The problem with these threads are that they are actually closely related to this, to being able to connect. Let me maybe do something like this. Okay, now. And I will have to have a lot of try-catch here. If I cannot connect, I do not want to raise an exception. I want to log it. How do I log it? I guess it's a warning. Warning. Failed to connect. 5 seconds. Yeah. And I want to time sleep 5 seconds and continue. So yeah, this is basically a connect loop, right? And in this loop, I try to connect. If I fail connecting, then I sleep. And I go again here and I retry connecting until the end of all time. Or until this is actually set. If I connect, then I go here, and in this case I want to, well, I want to handle the messages. So here I want to run the handling. So I could make a function out of this, another method, but I'm actually not going to. Here, somewhere here, I need to make sure that send receive threads are running, because this is not yet done. I will have to do it in a sec. If you're wondering why this is sender and not receiver, it's because it's a copy paste error. Thank you for pointing it out. Fabio, I guess, spotted it first. Thank you, Fabio. Now, and here I will basically act on events, meaning each time I get something in the receive queue, I need to process it. Therefore, I need to get something from the receive queue, and there is like a .get method, but yeah, I don't want it to block, but I want there to be a timeout. So, well, that's not really true. I want it to block for a certain amount of time. Okay, so self receive queue, and I want to get something from it. No, you know what? I'm going to go with this thing. Yeah, and here. I'm going to try to get something, but I think I need to do this. Self receiving from the receiving queue. If I need to get something, I want it to be blocking, I guess, but I want there to be a timeout. And the timeout will be something sane. The timeout, why do I need the timeout? I need the timeout to basically, if there's nothing to process, I need to check this event from time to time. And this timeout is basically how frequently do I want to check it. And I want to check it every half a second. Yeah, every half a second. That's fine. Like 500 milliseconds. That's a lot of time in the CPU world. Will I use mutexes for sync? Yes and no. So both event and queues are already have mutexes. They already have this implemented. I do not have to use any additional locks or mutexes. If I'm going to use another structure, which is being shared between threads, I will have to use my own locks, my own mutexes. So PZ, that's a really good question. I guess I kind of told you about it already before, but just to reiterate, yeah, I do not have to use mutexes. It's about that. It's not that I shouldn't or do not need to. Well, it's not that I need to use mutexes, but I forgot. It's actually I do not need to use them. Cool. Now, and I get an event. Let's call it an event. It's actually a message usually, but let's call it an event, because the event might also be that something got disconnected. That's a good event. Then, yeah. In that case, if there is nothing here, then I get an exception. Yeah, I get this empty exception, queue empty exception. So catch, is it catch? No, it's accept in Python. Yeah, that's what you get for writing in various languages, right? In different languages, you actually make a lot of mistakes like this. If the queue is empty, then whatever, just go to sleep. Like sleep 0.5. Oh no, I actually already slept here. If I'm getting this exception, that means this timeout is already over. We can double check it actually. So let's create a query here, a queue, and let's get and let's block for 0.5. Boom, 0.5. Yeah, we get empty. So okay, and therefore we just continue. This is all we need to do here. If the queue is empty, this actually makes us go here, double check, well, check this condition, and repeat, and repeat, and repeat. If we didn't get an exception, that means we actually need to process the event. For now, let's just log the event. I'm pretty sure there's something like the back event, and let's just, oh, this is actually a format string, right? Let's make sure the event is actually converted into a string. We can use rep, right? Yes, rep. Let's use it. I think it's there is rep, right? Rep, yeah. What? Rep, yeah. Alright. Yeah, rep is basically like a Python representation. I can put anything here, and yeah, and it will change it to a text representation of that. It's a little better than string, because what string would do, or maybe string, no, string is actually identical here. In some cases, rep is better. It's just for like, I'm going to remove it later on. Remove this. Oh, funny, I actually had like a highlight for this in Vim. That's what I'm used to. Let's maybe use a to-do instead. I don't have a highlight for to-do either. That's weird. Okay, and do I need this? I do not need this anymore. Yeah, and I'm just going to ignore it now, ignore it, and go back to the beginning and get another message here, which is fine. So this is more or less fine. Now, what is happening here is that I might get an event that the connection has ended. The connection was disconnected. That's going to be one of the event types I will implement. I guess I need a class for expressing the IRC event type. Yeah, let's do it like this, and let's do like event type and event content or data, whatever. There will be IRC event. Oh, I do have a file, I believe, for constants, don't I? Yeah, I do. So I'm not sure, actually, like this is a constant which is really specific to the IRC module. I'm not really sure it's specific to everything, so I'm not going to put it in that file either. What type of events will I have? I will have, well, the message event, obviously. It's going to be a low-level event, meaning it's either going to be a message from the server which needs to be handled, or it's going to be an event like quit, like the connection just exited. Aren't mutexes semaphores just atomic logs? In general, yes. Basically, yes, there might be some more thing to it, because, you know, you have mutexes, but you also have reader and writer mutexes, which are a little more interesting. For example, a lot of threads can grab a mutex with a reader log, but only one can grab it for a writer log, and no readers must be present then. So they're like different type of logs, and this gets a little more complicated. In addition, on low-level mutexes implemented by the operating system might also be tied to the scheduler of the operating system, meaning that the log wouldn't be a spin log. It would be more of a combination of a spin log with telling the kernel that when a mutex is active and this is the condition for that mutex, and then the scheduler will know that, oh, the condition has arrived, therefore I can wake up this thread now. So yeah, mutexes are kind of like spin logs with sleeping, basically, but they can be a lot more complicated as well, depending on what kind of exactly are we talking about. But actually reading the source code of an implementation of a mutex is usually is worth it. It's quite cool. Okay. So, okay, the best supervisor says that if I pass true to a function, then I should pass the parameter name true equals true. I'm actually going to show you this comment. This is a really good comment, and I fully agree with that. here it's actually a good idea to write something like this when you're using constants. So that's a very good comment from the supervisor. And in C++, for example, what I would do is I would do this, like block equals and then true, because I cannot do the same thing in C++, right? But this is like production level code, and I'm trying to write nice code here. I'm not necessarily writing production level code. But yeah, in production level code, totally what the supervisor says is true. You should write like this, because this is not a reverse engineering challenge, and another person reading this might not know what true means, what argument is it passed to. They need to open the documentation, and in this case, oh, it's clear. Blocking true, timeout 5, easy to read. Code needs to be readable. There was a good saying, right, about writing code in a way that assumes that the next person that's going to read it is like, let me put it like this, gets angry really fast and it gets violent really fast. A psychopath, basically. Yeah. Cool. So let's continue with the code. Okay, what did I... Oh yeah, I wanted to create this event type, so self event type equals event type. I can just use type, I guess, here. Data equals data. I kinda don't want to use type here, because type is a built-in function. I know, or class actually, I know I will not use it, but yeah, I can use it here though. So I don't like shadowing global stuff. Okay, I don't think I need anything else. Well, I'm wondering, like, if calling repr on, because I'm calling like representation, like repr here, right, on it, if this is actually going to do me any good. I don't think it will. Is there like probably dunder str or something? Str, yeah, or repr. Exactly. So I need repr. Yeah. And yeah, and I probably need to define rep self and return. What do I return? I guess we'll figure it out in a second. My guess is I'm going to return a string. So the string is going to be type IRC event type, and where the type is going to be self type. Let's assume it's a string, because why not? And the data is going to be just like rep self data. Okay, should be fine. Now, yeah, here message. Let's just go for MSG. I know that using integers would be a little bit faster, but honestly, if you look on how much code needs to be executed for a simple instruction in Python, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Yeah, disconnect. If I'm using... I don't think I have a better idea. If I'm using full name in one place, I might as well use the full name in another. Cool. So, okay, now I have the event type, so I know I'm going to get a class of event type here. Therefore, if the event dot type is equal to IRC disconnect, then I need to break. I need to break and I go here. And here what I need to do is basically finalize disconnect. And here I need to... Yeah, I need to do this. I will do that in a second. Or I guess I can do it. I can finalize the disconnect now. What needs to happen is also dependent on what type of connection do I have. I guess it's best if I just write a function similar to this, which is called like disconnect, and I'm just going to run it. because I probably need to finalize the SSL context in some way, which I'm not really sure about. Therefore, disconnect. No, so that's a self disconnect. And this will finalize the disconnect. Now, what I have not decided yet about is I have the reader thread and the receiver thread and the sender thread, right? Should I actually should I create the threads on each connect and then terminate them at each disconnect, or rather should this thread be running all the time and just the socket should be changed? I'm wondering about that. Yeah, I'm probably going to add another flag, well, event actually. So after I connect, then I create a new event, which is end terminate sender transmitters, I guess, like trans receivers, whatever. Yeah, sender receiver, and I create an event. And as soon as I mark these events, these threads are supposed to exit, maybe, and it's good enough. Okay. Yeah, my coding style is kind of like all around the place right now. I'm jumping between different things, and also I cannot really run this code yet, but that's actually like the more experience I guess you have with a programming language, the more you shift into this kind of writing code, where usually what you would like to do if you are not really sure what you are doing, you would try to run the code as often as possible. And you will see me trying, like last stream for example, I wasn't really sure how to use the SSL, so I tried running it as well, quite a lot of times, right? But today I haven't run this code yet, apart from checking what happened on the last stream. So because I'm way more comfortable writing this kind of code than using the SSL library, for example, in Python. So I will shift like between styles. Okay, so this is fine. Now, I need to set this event. So here, if I disconnect, actually before even disconnecting, so here I'm going to set this. Yeah. So I'm setting this event, and this gives my threads time to exit. They both exit timely, hopefully. And then I need to wait for the threads in that case. So do I have already creating the threads? No, I do not have. So let's call them sender th, and I need to wait for it, and receiver. Okay. Okay, so there's a question. There are a couple of good questions. Let's go through them. The questions will appear. Oh wait, will appear actually there. Yeah. So the iFan5 says, how are you planning actually to send and receive the data? I see you want to push it in a queue. What if it's full? The queue will not be full. I mean, as you can see, I didn't provide any argument here, which means the queue is limitless. Well, it's not really limitless, it's limited by the amount of RAM I have in my computer, and I have a lot of RAM in my computer. So yeah, do not worry about that. Do not worry about the queue being full. It will never be full. What I want to do is I basically want to receive a full line, and then after receiving a line, I want to process it in the receiving thread, and I want to change it into this event object, and I want to send it, put it in the queue then. So that's basically my idea. Similar for the sender. For the sender, I can actually just put strings in the queue, and the sender will grab a string and send it, and that's it. maybe adding like the whatever the line ending is required. What is the line ending required? Let's look in the RFC. What line ending are we supposed to use? So I'm kind of expecting LF to be needed. Okay, CRLF. IRC messages are always lines of characters terminated with CRLF. Okay, but this is same like in HTTP. This is, you know, this in string notation and C string notation. So carriage return and line feed. Yeah, perfect. Now, okay, where was I? I was joining the threads. Join means like wait for the thread to finish. I don't know why it's joined. It's weird. Maybe because it's like, if you create a thread, you actually do a fork, right? And then you join the main thread. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the idea behind it. Okay, then I disconnect. Actually disconnect at this point, because, you know, I've already received an event which is that something disconnected, right? So why am I calling disconnect again? The idea here is that disconnect will do cleanup, meaning it will try to send again like the shutdown and then do close on the socket. And okay, and then I go to connect, but I do not want to go to the connect yet. I want to wait a while. Now this 5 here, I'm not too happy about it, because it should actually be, this should be part of the config. How long do we want to wait between disconnects or reconnects? So let's open the config file, which we had created last time, and let's, I'm wondering how to do this. I'm probably going to just create like a global IRC networks, like IRC general or IRC config. And let's do it like this. And let's create the question is, wait, I was supposed to go through the questions. I'll go through them in a second. Yeah, the question is whether I should call the joins after disconnect or before disconnect. I actually want to do that before disconnect, because otherwise there is a slim chance that disconnect will close the socket, and then a thread would, like one of the threads would still, due to like after processing, for example, it will call receive, and the receive would be called on a socket which is no longer existing. But then again, there might be another thread somewhere which would just spawn a connection to Discord, for example, which would get assigned the same socket ID, and this would cause a mess probably. So I want to be sure that both threads exited before I close the socket, the file descriptor. This makes sure that no other thread will in this exact moment spawn the same file descriptor, reuse the file descriptor, and that one of these threads won't fall into reading another thread's socket connection. That's actually a possibility, like a race condition like this. So it's unlikely, but it's there. So that's why I want to make sure that before calling disconnect, I am going to wait for the threads to finish. It's a really good question, by the way. Okay, yeah, so connect timeout, and I want to reconnect timeout to be 5. So that's 5 seconds. Okay, therefore, I need here to use, how do I use the config again? Wait, that's here, config, okay. Config IRC config of reconnect timeout. We can do get 5.0 here as well. This basically means that If reconnect timeout is not there, then default to 5.0. Then again, let's just assume it's supposed to be there. Yeah, let's make all the config mandatory. So, yep, this is fine, but I need to use it in a different place, which is also here. Okay, so that's fine. Now, this is the cleanup, basically. And please note that if this loop is exited by this condition not being met, meaning that the end is actually set, then this is actually will also work, because this will be a full disconnect. It won't be only a cleanup, it will be a full disconnect as well. I'm out of tea. That's horrible. In my implementation, is it possible to have a TCP congestion? What's the TCP congestion? I probably know what that is, but I need to double check. It's one of the factors that determines the number of bytes that can be outstanding at any time. The connection is No, I don't believe so. Based on what I'm reading. I probably know exactly what this is, but I do not... I might know it under a Polish name. When I was, you know, learning about TCP, I learned... this is actually something I learned from a book, or several books actually. But it didn't seem to be problematic. This is going to be a low traffic bot. Do not expect it to send a lot of traffic. I do not think there is going to be any problems with that, with congestion, based on what I just read. Unless I'm misunderstanding what it is. We can get to that later, but no, I mean, for the amount of traffic this is going to send, I am going to add throttling to this bot, 1 second throttling basically. I do not expect this to be a problem. Cool. Yeah, give me 1 second. Okay, apologies. Let's continue then. I was going to look at your questions, but I was also going to make a thread, or actually a couple of threads. So sender thread, and I want to create it. I'm just going to copy paste this. I wonder how many typos did I make. And yeah, this is going to be sender thread run. Then I'm basically doing the same thing I did above. So I want it to be a daemon thread, and I want it to be started. Now one thing is that I need to pass the... Or do I need to pass the sockets? No, I don't need to pass the sockets, because I'm operating on the same object. I would prefer to not operate on the same object, in all honesty, but that doesn't matter too much. Because the only things from this object that the threads actually need is the queue. Like the sender needs this queue, the sender needs 2 events, and the sender needs the socket, and that's it. It doesn't need access to the rest of the object, but I do not feel super strong about actually separating it from the IRC object either, so I'm just going to keep the thread, both the receiver and the sender thread, part of the IRC object with access to it. Okay, receiver. Is this the way you write receiver? Yeah, it is the way you write receiver. Perfect. Okay, so receiver thread, and we started. Perfect. So now we have 2 threads running at this point. Well, running. They might not be running yet, they are just starting, but they will get there. And then I'm handling the messages. I'm not really handling the messages, I'm receiving the messages in this thread, the events in this thread, and then I'm terminating it. Now I do not have disconnect yet implemented. I need to implement disconnect. Actually, I have implemented disconnect. I didn't implement the actual worker functions, right? Which are the disconnect SSL and the disconnect SSL and the other one, which is no SSL. Let's go with disconnect no SSL first, because I actually know what we have to do here, and I need obviously the self as well. SSL, yeah, this is how you type it. What you need to do is you need a socket. Here we go. This is the low overall socket in case of SSL, or the low-level network socket in case of no SSL. And what we need to do is we need to basically call shutdown on it. Shutdown is a clean way to end the TCP connection. It sends, I don't remember which exactly packets it sends, maybe FIN or something like that from the TCP. You can shut down the socket one way or 2 ways. One way meaning you can, for example, shut down only you sending data, but still get to receive the data. And the other side is actually notified that you just shut down sending data, therefore they will never receive any data again. But they can still send data, or the other way around. But I actually need to shut down. It's actually useful on CTF sometimes to just shut down half of the connection. Like, yeah. Why am I not using static method? I'm not using static methods here at all. I was wondering whether I should use static methods for these 2 things, but I decided not to. Why am I not using class method? Because class method are default anyway, if I remember correctly. Unless that does something magical, class method, but I don't think it does anything. Let's see, Python 3, and let's do this. Is there any official documentation? I want official documentation. Class method, yeah, and class method transforms a method into a class method. Perfect. A class method receives the class. Oh, it receives. Okay, so yeah, it's even different because in Python, I guess, in Python, a class is an object of its own rights. So I guess a class method operates on the class as an object and not on the object of the class. And while a static method is actually just in the namespace of the class, but it's not really tied to the class in any way. So I'm not using any class methods here because in all honesty, over all my programming years, I've maybe needed a functionality like that twice. Like class methods. Static methods are a different thing, but class methods. So it's a good question, Pezet, but there's your answer. Okay, so yeah, so we shut down, and to shut down we need, what's the Python name for it? Python free socket, it's shut underscore rd, I think, shut underscore rdwr, yeah. On Windows, actually, it's different. On Linux, it's called like this, I think, in the low-level library, so I'm kinda confused. And this will throw an exception if the connection is already terminated. So we need to catch that exception. Does it say what kind of exception? It doesn't say what kind of exception, which means we need to figure it out. And that's going to be painful. Yeah, I'm not sure I want to figure it out. We should. Where's my connect function? Okay, socket create connection somewhere. Perfect. Let's just use this import socket. And k equals to something, and we connect. Where do we connect? We connect to Ginveil code WinPL, add the port 80. Too many values to unpack, because this is supposed to be one argument. Furthermore, this is supposed to be an integer and not a string. Okay, so we are connected. Now we send something, so let's just send send all, and send something bogus. Yep. Wait, B, because this is Python 3. Yeah. And it should actually disconnect us. I want it to disconnect us. So receive Whatever, like, yeah. Oh, it didn't. Wait, why? Anyway, that's unfortunate. It should time out in a second anyway. Yeah, okay, it's keyboard interrupt. Yeah, okay. Empty string in case of receive means we get disconnected. So now let's call shutdown on this. Shutdown, again, shutdown actually sends a packet. It sends a fin packet, or I think it's a fin. Do not quote me on that. So we shut down socket shut RD/WR, and RD is reading, WR is writing, and it didn't throw an exception. Yeah, we can do it a lot of times and that doesn't throw an exception. That's cool. So let's do a close on it. It doesn't mean that it doesn't behave. It behaves like this on Linux. Okay, and now it throws an exception. So I can call shutdown on. It's fine to call shutdown on a closed connection on Windows. Let's see if it's the same on Linux actually. So let me open my Linux console. Where is my Linux console? Here we go. Let's do exactly the same. I have an older version of Python, but that doesn't really matter. And I just need to copy this and port socket. Yeah. Okay, and then send all. I'm just going to like send whatever. Get HTTP 11 host .pl. And oh wait, too much new lines here. Okay. Alright, so same error. Now receive everything. Okay, bad request. What is the bad request? It's a great request. I like it. But okay, doesn't matter. It received and now it should, yeah, and it shut down the connection. So doing receive again just yields us this, which is perfect. And now we should double check it. The shutdown socket shut RD/WR. No, this is fine. So let's do close. Yeah, okay, this is good. That means we do not really need to catch it. Doing experiments instead of actually checking in the source code or documentation can backfire on you spectacularly. So keep that in mind. I think we should be somewhat safe here because this isn't critical code. But yeah, keep that in mind. Okay, so we do this and then we just like close the socket and that's it. What do we need to do in case of SSL? So Python SSL. We need actually Python 3, this is fine. Oh, by the way, yeah, we need to look at security consideration later on because we need to make sure that the server we connect to actually has a proper certificate, because a common mistake with SSL implementations or actually using SSL implementations is not making sure that the certificate is valid and also allowing basically old deprecated ciphers and hash functions and so on to be used. And we do not want to fall into that problem, so we might look at this later. I'm actually going to note this somewhere here. To do, yeah, and in 10 years, somebody is going to find my code on GitHub and is going to find this to-do and is going to laugh at me really hard. This is what usually happens with security-related to-dos. But again, this is not critical code, and this is just an IRC bot. So I'm okay with just making a to-do and not doing it right now. Okay, let's... I was going to look for close. How do we close? How do we shut down? Okay, connection stream wrap socket, then... No, they just do shutdown. They just do a standard shutdown and close. This might throw some exceptions though, but whatever. What I'm wondering really is it going to really... Is it going to close both sockets? is going to close both the SSL context. The SSL context is not, it's a logical thing, it's not a file descriptor, so I shouldn't worry too much about it. Okay, so wrapper socket. Let me look what this returns. Okay, let's click. It returns probably an SSL context. I guess this is an SSL context. Is it pretty weird. Okay, maybe it's just passed to the socket and it's fine. And maybe I do not have to do the same on this raw socket connection, hopefully. Okay, let's leave it like this for now and see if we have any file descriptor leaks later on. I'm not worried too much about memory leaks, but file descriptor leaks. Because file descriptors are going to end first, before memory ends. Cool, so disconnects should be fine. This isn't doing anything yet. It should... Let's implement like actually the sender part, because the sender part is easier. So while... actually no, let's just do the same thing we did here. We can actually copy paste this code. Okay, so try to get a message to be sent from the sender queue. From the sender queue, get block and timeout 5. This is fine. 5 is again, this timeout is related mostly to when do we want to double check on these conditions. Okay, then we continue. Otherwise, we actually need to send stuff. So self send all, and we send the message. I do not think we need to do anything more at this point. I'm wondering if we should send the message, or because doing it like this, doing just a send message here without any processing, basically makes forces everyone else, like all the code around, to prepare byte strings ready with the proper line ending. Perhaps we would like to add that line ending ourselves. Perhaps we would like to allow the packet to be actually Unicode. I'm kinda thinking we should do just that. And if we do just that, what we need to do here is we need to do something like this. We need to basically convert this to bytes, but we need to pass encoding. Encoding is going to be UTF-8. I do not care about other encodings. It's going to be UTF-8. If it's going to fail, it's not going to fail. It might fail on the decoding side, but not on the encoding side. On the encoding side, it should be fine. So, yeah, this basically says that the message is going to be Unicode, and we want that Unicode to be encoded using the UTF-8 encoding, because Unicode has multiple encodings, and in the pure Unicode form, it's just a number, a 32-bit number, right? And on top of that, we want to add this, but this actually should be a byte string as well. Now, what I'm not too happy about is I'm not too happy about this concatenation and the conversion here. It's kind of slow, but let's just leave it. Maybe let's just ignore it. It's going to be fine. It's not going to be super slow. Cool. Then this is the sender thread and it's fine, and this is the receiver thread. Now in the receiver thread, what we need to do is we need to keep getting data, and then furthermore, we need a timeout on getting the data. So yeah, and if we set the timeout, how did it work? Is the timeout also on sending? Because it was, oh no, we are using send all, so that's fine. Yeah. We do need to set the socket timeout though, or do we? I'm wondering if SSL is going to complain for setting the timeout. Timeout. Get timeout, set timeout. Show me set timeout. Set a timeout, and it actually goes to the real timeout function. Python SSL timeout. Yeah, because what I want to do, because it's like this. If I do self as receive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever, then this is blocking. And if it's blocking, that means that this is basically just waiting for, yeah, it's just, sorry, this is not going to be checked until some message arrived. So we might tell the bot, hey, exit now, and then the bot would get our message and wait for another message, and the next message might never arrive, and this will be never checked. And given that we are waiting for this thread here with the join, that means we will get a deadlock and it will never exit until some message arrives or we get disconnected from the server, and receive actually returns an empty string. So that's why we want to have a timeout here. So self as timeout. I'm going to actually set it here after we connect, but I am a little bit scared about it because SSL needs to handle this properly, because we are no longer calling receive on the low-level socket, we are calling receive from the SSL context, and this might kind of backfire. I'm a little bit worried about it. Let's see how it goes. And actually there's a socket timeout. Yeah, socket timeout, this is an exception which we will get if this timeout's outs. So try get data. We also have to answer a very important question in a second. Except if there's a socket timeout, in this case just continue, because that means 5 seconds have passed. Where did I set? Okay, here, so timeout 5. Yeah, here I do not need to give a name to this, because it's pretty clear reading the code that I'm setting a timeout and this is a timeout, and that probably value unit is, yeah, it's not clear what the unit is, but yeah, that's seconds. Let's say put it like this. Now I do not need this, so this will wait for not 5 seconds, half a second obviously. So this will wait for half a second, and then it will throw an exception socket timeout, and it will cause to recheck these events, these flags we have, and then if it's not over, then it continues. Now there is an unlikely event, which isn't really unlikely, that data is going to be empty, which means at this point where my cursor is, this sadly means that we get disconnected. If we get disconnected, that means we need to push the event about being disconnected into the queue. So if data is actually equal to an empty string, because it's going to be an empty string, then we need to, sorry, not an empty string, obviously an empty bytes, yeah, because it's not the same in Python 3 anymore. Cool. Yeah, and now we need to do self receiver queue, put, and create the IRC event type, and the event type is going to be IRC. Sorry. On line 52, I'm missing a parenthesis. I will take a look in a moment. Sorry, the type is going to be IRC event. Disconnect and no data. So actually, if there is no data, I'm just going to modify the constructor here and do none. I think it's quite funny because this part is actually evaluated when the class is being registered, and not when the constructor is being called, which is quite weird. You can run into funny bugs that way if you're using objects like a list, for example. If here we will get a list, that list would be, this is only one list common to all and every events created ever on from now. So keep in mind how that works in Python, how the default values work in Python. Yeah, okay. Now, line 52, you said that I forgot a parenthesis. Maybe the code, I guess, changed a lot from that time when that was mentioned. Okay, here, yeah, that's fine. We put, let's just do this. This is a little bit maybe more readable. And then we break. We break free of the loop and we exit because this thread is no longer needed. This thread will freeze at the end anyway and wait for the ability to join to the other thread, but that's fine. We can actually do return here because we need to exit. I guess we could also log here that we got disconnected, but I do not want to call logging into many threads, or maybe logging is actually thread safe. Is Python free logging thread safe? Thread safe meaning synchronized. Thread logger initializes a log which can be used to serialize access to underlying IO functions, which may not be thread safe. Why do I? Thread safety. It's intended to be thread safe without any special work needed to be done by its clients. It's achieved using threading logs. There is one log to serialize access to. Okay, and well, okay, that should be fine. I can, I guess, use logging in that case. With print, it wouldn't be so great, but with logging. So yeah, so I could say here that we got disconnected, but we are saying that at the end as well anyway. Now what we need to do here as well, so at this point we know that we didn't get disconnected and we have some data ready. Now this data needs to be added to a buffer and we need to look for the end of the line. Because we are not, again, TCP is a streaming protocol. We are not guaranteed, I think even with SSL, to get packets in the, or maybe with SSL, anyway, to get packets which are the length well, the length sent doesn't necessarily have to equal the length received. It could be we are sending 100 bytes and we are receiving 2 times 50 bytes. Like first receive gets 50, the second receive gets 50 again. It's not going to differ on the between 100 byte and 50 bytes, but if we get to the window, TCP window size level or like IP window size level, then, or IP packet size or whatever, then we start to, or Ethernet packet level, like window level or whatever. Basically, if we start exceeding the window level, then that is when things might start to get funny. So we have to take that into account. And what that means is basically that we are not guaranteed to get the whole line at the same time. A trivial and not good way to implement this would be to do something like this. Please observe and do not repeat. There's a buffer, like a buff, which is empty, and then on each data we do data, buff, we add buff to data, wait, buff, we add data to buff, obviously, and then we basically check if the new line, actually you can do like this, is in buff. If it is in buff, then we actually find it and get the data. Now the problem is that this might be a tad slow, and if it's a tad slow, then that's not great. But on the other hand, it's not going to be super slow. I'm wondering basically how to do it in a faster way. I guess a little bit better way would be to create an array here, a list. Let's call it buffers, and each time we receive something, we do something like this. If in the newest data which has arrived, we have the new line, there could be more than one new line. This is important to know. But okay, so if let's do the other way around, because I do not want to make too many indentations, so let's support the case that it's not in the data. In that case, what we need to do is we need to the buffers, we add data. Not add append, obviously. And continue. But if there is, we know that in data, in the newest thing which arrived, there is already some data. We can concatenate the buffers with the data. and then get yeah, and then basically do a split on that, which is a little bit annoying, but I'm wondering what's the best way to do it, but let's try it like this. Yeah, just continue. And here otherwise we can do data is equal to, we do a join on this, on the buffers. It just concatenates all the buffers. And then we do a split by, the new line. Let me do one quick test. If we do something like this, ASDF and a new line, and I do a split on it with on this character with a limit 1, this is byte, yeah, then okay, perfect. This is exactly what I want. So I want to do something like this: AB equals, yeah, and then in I have one part and B I have the other. So I need the line and the reminder. How do I write reminder? How do you spell it? Remainder. Sorry, is that a remainder, the one I'm thinking about? What? Okay. Oh wow. Remainder. This is how the word I was looking for. Remainder. Okay. Excuse my bad English. So I join it, then I do a split on it with end of line and 1. 1 meaning there are more end of lines, and I can show you just that. We basically get in A only the first line, and in B we get everything else. As you can see, we also get stripped of this, which is fine. I'm not trusting the IRC server to send me CRLF. I'm assuming it's going to just send me this. Cool. So now the remainder of the buffers is going to be equal to, I'm going to just feed it a new list made only of the remainders. The remainders might be empty, we do not care. Or we might care, no, I do not think we care. Let's just do this. And the line is what we need to process. So we can do the processing here, the parsing here, or we can just pass it downstream. And I'm wondering what we should do about it. I think we actually should process it a little bit here. Let's send it for now and then figure it out if we change it. IRC event type. Wait, why is it called event type? It should be just called event. No. Type is the parameter. Okay. Event and IRC event message, and as the first argument we give it the line. The problem with the line is that it hasn't been, yeah, we need to actually decode it. Okay, this is going to probably fail. Let's try. I want to check what happens if I put some bogus things here and I want to convert it to a string, assuming that it's encoded in UTF-8, and it says cannot decode. So there's a Unicode decode error. Unicode decode error, decode error. Okay, so we try to decode the line. In all honesty, I would prefer at this point for it not to fail. Like, can I convince Python not to fail in this case? Just put the usual Unicode question marks, because the problem is somebody, we enter on a channel and somebody is speaking, I don't know, like Japanese using shift JIS or whatever other encoding. we will get an exception. We do not want an exception here. We want to know that the person is just using a different encoding. I'm not sure we care too much about it, but that might be a quite common because IRC actually works on bytes. It doesn't work on UTF-8, so you need to. I want to decode messages as UTF-8, but that doesn't mean everyone is going to be using UTF-8. So Python 3 decode bytes no fail or yeah. Okay. Yeah. What? Yeah, because the normal way UTF-8. Oh, there's something like ignore. Does it work? Let's see. Oh, it works. Huh. It removes it. I'm not sure I wanted to remove. I didn't know that. So str. Oh, there's a comment from ABC about the split removing VN. VN is removed only from the first message. It still stays in the reminder. If we look here, right, on this case, you can see that this N got removed. So it's not here. It should be here, it's not here, or it should be here, right? But it's not there. But this N or this N is actually, they are all here and nothing happened to them. So that's fine. It's okay. It's good to actually check for these things, but I was actually sure that will be the case. So, okay. Python 3 built-in str. Okay. str. Yeah. Error strict. What kind of errors do we have? Returns a string version C string for detail. Okay. Error strict. Okay, and what kind of errors do we have? Because I do not want it to be. I don't want it to remove the bytes. I want it to replace them with unknown character in Unicode. There's like. Yeah, it's this one, right? FFD, which I would prefer to see this one because it's more telling than just removing a sequence of characters. What kind of errors can I have here? Restrict option. Huh. Oh yeah, okay, so it's replace. I want replace in that case. Yeah, okay, this is perfect. As you can see, there is the symbol which was expected. So this is exactly the behavior which I wanted in this case. And given that this is the case, that it doesn't really crash, I'm going to do this, the line, then UTF-8, which is my choice, and errors is supposed to be replaced. Okay, this is fine. And then it goes back to checking the conditions and receiving the data. So this more or less should do something. Let's see if the code actually works, which it should do nothing. It's still doing nothing. And it says that here I'm missing one parenthesis, and it does nothing. Why doesn't it do anything? Because, okay, because it actually exits here, and I don't want it to exit. I'm sleep. I know this is... Yeah. Queue is not defined. Where is the queue? Queue is not defined. Did I import queue? I didn't import queue. Q is now imported. Okay, IRC object has no attribute start. That is the problem on line 130. Start, yeah, self, yeah, this is a stupid mistake to make. My apologies for that one. I'm going to check the questions in a sec. Oh yeah, this is a copy-paste error now. Here we go, that's way better. Okay, yeah, something works. We got, yeah, as you can see, we got the event and the presentation works, and yeah, we need to remove this. I forgot to remove this. So let's exit. Yeah, as you can see, I killed the main thread and then all the threads got terminated. It didn't terminate the connection in a nice way, sadly, but it doesn't matter in this case. What I want to do here is... Sorry, where's the receiver code? Here's... Yeah. If the last character after the split of the line... Okay. So if line of -1... Okay, there's a funny case here, which I'm just trying to fail. If not line, if the line is empty after the split, this is quite funny. This is a really weird case, and this should not happen. I'm actually going to log this. Warning. I received an empty line. How am I... See, what was my format for the logging? Am I using sentences or am I using log info? Yeah, I'm using sentences. Okay. Okay, so now I know the line is not empty. So if the last character is equal to R, then I can just remove it. So how do I remove something from a line? Because, you know, I can write just like this. Line is equal to line without -1. And this does remove the last character, I'm pretty sure about it. Yeah. Yeah, as you can see it works. But the problem is that it actually allocates the buffer again. Is there like, can I do just pop -1? No, I don't think strings in Python are mutable. This isn't fully true. I've done a reverse engineering challenge in Python where I did mutate the strings, but by default they are not mutable, which means I do have to do something like this. Funnily, I can have again an empty line here because this might have been the last but only character, therefore I need to do this again. I'm wondering if there's a better way to do it, but whatever. Yeah, this is fine. No, I cannot. I believe I cannot. But the question is, can I do something like this? A of -1 equals B. We just override that character. Yeah, 0 with a null byte. Yeah. Again, strings in Python are constant. You cannot change the string in Python. Not using usual methods, but yeah. So this is a little bit better. If we have an empty line, then do this. Remove the character. Yeah, let's try if this works a little better. Okay, and we're getting the message. We still have it. It doesn't work. Why? No, wait, why? No, seriously, why? Why did it? What? I actually saved this code before running it. Yeah, I did. Okay, I have some stupid mistake somewhere. Oh, we do not detect. Why don't we detect this? Okay. I'm getting confused. Oh, okay. That's weird. Yeah, now it works. So, okay. It seems that bytes work like a byte array and not as a string in Python 2. I always thought that bytes type in Python 3 is actually more like string in Python 2, but this actually works like a byte array, meaning that this is actually a bytes object, but if you do this, you actually get an integer. You get like the same if you do ord err, yeah, you get the same value using this. So therefore this integer was, which this returned 13, 13 being, you know, the ASCII code of err, and it was not equal to this byte object, but is equal to the bytes object's first index, which is fine. Okay, so now it works, and I guess it's time to finish up today, because it's already 10 p.m. and we usually do 2-hour streams, right? So if there are any questions, I'm going to look through. Wow, okay, there are a lot of comments and questions, so I'm going to go through them quickly. And well, we are already receiving stuff, we are parsing the lines correctly. I even kind of like the code, which isn't, I think I commonly say. It's not great though. What we need to do next is we need to finally implement the IRC protocol, which I was hoping to do today, but I needed to write this framework first, this skeleton code, if you will. But yeah, that's actually, I kind of like how it's written, so we can continue from that. Cool. Let's go with the questions. Why not a buffer style approach? I guess this is kind of a buffer style approach if you think about the receiving part and then how it's split into events. The receiving part is a buffered kind of approach, if that's what you mean, the iPhone 5. If you mean something else, then do let me know. You can use Python's free f strings, log, f, event, rep. Oh, this you mean. Wow. This looks like a CTF challenge. We should make a CTF challenge around that. That's cool, but no, let's not. Let's not. But it's good to know. Thank you. I didn't know, not yet, but you can do that in Python free. That's actually interesting. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, BPS. Is BPS battle programmer Shirasa by any chance? Is it possible to deny file rights to some file without use of permissions? I have my prog exe. Can my exe can lock a file from writing? Yes, basically. Oh, Walter, thank you for the donation. Basically, oh, I see a lot of folks are already in a 3-digit number in the donations. Nice, thank you. That's really appreciated. Anyway, to answer your question, yes. Yes and no. Because I don't think all file systems support file locking. I'm pretty sure on Linux you cannot lock a file, or locking a file is actually just logical. It's not done on the operating system level. Please correct me if I'm wrong. On Windows, you can lock a file, and locking a file should be able to do what you say. But, I mean, use permissions. That's why you have permissions, I guess. On the other hand, you might be right. But, yeah, I don't think I can add anything else to what your comment said. You basically answered your own question. Locks is the way to go here. Yeah, I already answered this one. Laish says, off topic, what's your hardware specs for the streaming machine? They are actually available somewhere on my blog. So let's jump to the desktop. If you go to ginvale pl/haven.txt, haven HTML, haven2 HTML. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, this is basically my streaming machine. It's somewhat high-end, but as you can see, this is the 6th generation. We have 9th generation, so I didn't buy the newest PC. Apart from that, yeah, you can just go to the link and read through it, I guess. I don't think it's fully updated. Yeah, I do have different LCDs now. Cool. Let's go back to here. Then I do see I got a donation from Pavel. Did the animation appear? Did I miss it? Apologies if so. Pavel, thank you for the donation. Or maybe there was no animation yet. Oh, here it is. Perfect. Oh, it works. Thank you, Pavel. Much appreciated. Natias says you have to change the logging info about reconnection as well. You're right. I'm probably going to do it in the next pass. Thank you for noticing that. Andrew says it looks like you've lowered the bitrate. I didn't. I think I'm having some internet problems actually. Maybe I need to reboot my machine. I will try to fix it for tomorrow and for the next week. I am not super sure we are going to have a live stream in next few weeks because I'm kind of traveling and kind of preparing for traveling. So we'll see. Next week is like 50% basically. Okay. Not self-demon, self-thread demon. Andrew, thank you for noticing that. As you saw, I actually found it myself later on. Do you plan maybe in the future to make a live stream where you do code reviews? That's not a bad idea, actually. We had some plans like that in the past as well. We might do that. Also, the question is like, are you thinking about security code reviews or are you thinking about like just programming code reviews? Okay, I've noted the idea, just in case. And the sender thread versus do a separate send all. Oh, instead of concatenation. Andrew, that's actually a good idea. I like the idea. I'm going to do that patch right now. Or is it a good idea? I'm wondering if it changes anything. Because it's a trade-off, right? It's a trade-off between concatenating, like copying the whole string and adding something at the end and then destroying the other object and allocating the first string in the string in the first place, and between doing two system calls. And in this case, copying the string is going to be faster probably, and doing a system call is going to be slower. So I'm going to stick with that, but your idea is actually good. Probably in CTF code I would do just that, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, you should use byte array, and for the buffer, because plus is much faster than immutable strings. Yeah, as you saw, I went with lists. Lists are said to be faster even than a byte array, I think. At least that was the result last time I checked the benchmarks on Stack Overflow. But that was Python 2, in honesty. So you might be right. You are checking only for Dohan writes, you are checking only for the end of the line in data. If it's in the reminder ready to go, you are not putting it in query. Okay, that is a really good spot. Well spotted. This is basically the case when I'm getting 2 times in one packet. I'm getting multiple lines, and Dohan is absolutely right about it. We are not doing that correctly. I am not doing that correctly. So to do that correctly, what I would have to do is repeat this until this happens. So let's see if I can do that. While be in data, then do this. Yeah. No. Okay, let's see if I fail this horribly or only a little. Join. No, I think this is actually going to work. Okay. Minus and repeat and repeat. Yeah, it's not the most optimal way to do it, but it actually should work. Let's close this window. Let's open this window. And let's see. Yeah. Okay. Whoa. was going on here. Not enough values to unpack. We just checked if it works the way I think it works, and it did work the way I think it worked. Why are you? Yeah, there is a way around it. I don't like the way around it. So like this. Okay, else we need to do this. Reminder being result of 1. Yeah. Okay. Why? I'm checking that. Okay, and debug line. We got an empty line. Wait, what? I'm confused. Not empty line. Not empty line is true. So, oh, continue. Sorry. That's a stupid mistake to make. I was thinking to write that continue word, but I forgot to write it. Received empty line. I didn't really receive an empty line. I guess I'm going to leave debugging this for the next time, because why not? So let's go through the rest of the question. But that's a really well spotted, Johan. Thank you for that. I don't want to call strip. Yeah, I know you can call airstrip, but I don't want to call that function, Andrew, because it's... I'm a little afraid it will cut too much stuff from the end. Oh, so you're not seeing this because it's not accepted. Okay. Then, oh yeah, I was supposed to commit it. I will commit it to Git in a second. How did you manage to mutate a string in Python? Yeah, you find where it's in the memory and you changed it in the memory, basically. You can look at my blog post. Okay, if you're Polish and you have my book, it's called, my book. The book I co-authored, Praktyczna Inżynieria Wsteczna. Then look at the 6th chapter, which is my chapter about Python reverse engineering, and it's written there. Otherwise, go to my blog and look for this challenge and the sources of this challenge as well. And yeah, you take a look what's going on there, because that has, like, in the sources you will find how to mutate a string. How process A that executes other process B can read-write to standard input-output of process B. Process A, basically in process A you have to replace process B's standard input and output with a pipe. This is the most common way to do it. And then in that pipe, well, you just write to that pipe and read through that pipe. That's it. And that's the super standard way to do it. Just before spanning, when spanning the next process, replace its standard input and output with pipes. And you can do it both on Windows and on Linux. On which department did you study on PWR? I was first on the fundamental... What was it called? What's the English name? Podstawowych problemów techniki, which is fundamental problems of technology, something like that. And then I moved to, for masters, I moved to these, which is Wydział Informatyki i Zarządzania. It's the computer science and management, but I never finished my masters, so yeah. Or maybe, yeah, I think these were kinda close to the official English names of of what university's faculties or departments. The title says our channel, but the thumbnail says my channel. Yes. True. I don't think it matters much. You're free to join my channel. Everyone is free to join my channel. Cool. Let's finish it up for today. And see you either next week or in a couple of weeks in March, basically at the beginning of March for next stream. So thank you for being here. Thank you to Maryush for being my moderator today. And that's it. I'm going to leave you with some music. So yeah, bye bye. See you next time and happy hacking. Bye.